Hello, I am Nirmal, and today we discuss about human resource planning, that is HRP, its meaning, definition of HRP, features of HRP, purpose, needs, significance of HRP, and objectives of HRP in organizational behavior and human resource management. So, human resource is the most vital factor for the survival and prosperity of the organizations. The human resource asset in a farm has the potential to appropriate the value or appreciate the value of the farm. So, though all the farms buy the same materials and machines for the productions, the people in a farm make the difference in the final product. So, the success of any organizations mainly depends upon the quality of its human resource and their performance also. So, many forward looking management will be concerned with the problem of procuring or developing adequate talent for manning various positions in the organizations. So the success of a human resource planning process not only help the organization itself but also help the society's prosperity. The losses a firm suffers from inadequate human resource planning and utilization is a loss to the nation. So, when these individual losses are added up, the total loss may be very significant to the economy of a nation. So, human resource may be regarded as the quantitative and qualitative measurement of labor forces required in an organization and planning in relation to manpower also may be regarded as establishing objectives to develop human resources in line with broad objectives of the organizations. Thus, human resource planning may be expressed as a process of by which the management ensures the right number of people for right kind of people at the right place at the right time doing the right things in organizations. So this is a two-phased process by which management can project the future manpower requirement and develop manpower action plans to accommodate the implications of projections. So thus we can say that human resource planning is the process of developing and determining objectives, policies and program that will develop, utilize and distribute manpower to achieve the goals of the organizations. Now we discuss about the definition of human resource planning. So human resource planning is the planning of human resources. It is also called manpower planning or personal planning, employment planning also. So it is only after human resource planning that the human resource development can initiate the recruitment and selection process. Therefore, human resource planning is a subsystem of organizational planning also. Now we discuss about definition of human resource planning by eminent authors. So human resource planning is a strategy for the acquisition, utilization, improvement and preservation of an organizational human resource. So manpower planning is the process by which a firm ensures that it has the right number of people and the right kind of people at the right place at the right time doing things for such they are economically most useful. Human resource planning is a process of forecasting an organizational future demand for human resource and supply of right type of people in the right numbers. Human resource planning is an integrated approach to perform the planning aspects of the personal functions. It ensures sufficient supply of adequately developed and motivated workforce to perform the required duties and tasks that meet organizational objectives also by satisfying the individual's needs and goals of organizational members. So, a strategy for the acquisition, utilization, and improvement and preservation of human resources of an enterprise, it is a way of dealing with people in a dynamic situation. The process of determining the manpower requirement and the means of meeting those requirements to carry out the integrated plan of the organizations. So, human resource planning as the process by which management determines how the organizations should move from its current manpower positions to its desired positions also. So, though planning management strives to have the right number and the right kind of people at the right place at the right time, also doing right things, resulting in maximizing long run benefits both for the organizations and for the individual also. Now we discuss about features of human resource planning. So it is a future oriented. Human resource planning is a forward looking. It involves forecasting the manpower needs for a future period so that adequate and timely provisions may be made to meet the needs also of organizations. So it is continuous process. Human resource planning is a continuous process because the demand and supply of human resource keeps fluctuating throughout the year. So human resource planning has to be reviewed according to the needs of the organizations and changing environment also. So integral part of corporate planning, manpower planning is the ethical or integral part of corporate planning because without a corporate plan there can be no manpower planning in organizations. So corporate planning is the most important part in organizations, that I mean to say. And optimum utilizations of planning or resources, basic purpose of human resource planning is to make optimum utilizations of organizations' current and future human resources. So both qualitative and quantitative aspects human resource planning considered both qualitative and quantitative aspects of human resource management also. So quantitative meaning the right number of people, for the qualitative implying the right quantity of manpower and required in the organizations. So long term and short term human resource planning is both long term and short term in nature, just like planning which is a long term and short term depending on the needs of an hour. So human resource planning keeps long term goals and short term goals in view while predicting and forecasting the demand and supply of the human resource. So involves study of manpower requirement. Human resource planning involves the study of manpower availability and the manpower requirement in the organization. So now significance of human resource planning. Now we discuss about this. What is the significance of HRP? So the failure in planning and in developing personnel will prove to be limiting factor in attributing to the organizational subjects or objectives. If the number of persons in an organization is less than the number of required to carry out the organization's plans, there will be disruption in the flow of work and production will also be lowered. But if on the other hand some person are surplus, some people are surplus in an organization, so they will have to be paid remuneration. The sound personnel policy required that there should be adequate number of persons of the right type to attain these objectives. So for this, the manpower planner should be concerned with the training and the training and the scheduling of the manpower of personnel and persuading the management also to use the result of manpower planning of personnel and to use the results of manpower planning studies in the conduct of the business. So every individual or commercial organizations has the need of proper system of manpower planning so as to bring efficiency and economy in the organizations. So smaller concerns and those with similar organizations simply also require human resource planning through a small scale. So human resource planning can prove to be an important aid and frame the training and development programs for the personnel because it takes into account and effects of anticipated changes in technology, markets and products on manpower requirement also, and educational and training program requirement also. So human resource planning is a relatively a difficult task for the personal management. It's a particular so in business enterprise which are often subject to forces outside their control such as social, political, economical changes. So manpower is a key resource required for the achievement of business objectives. So materials, equipments, power and other resources can be effectively and efficiently used in organizations. Only if there is a manpower capable of processing them into required goals and services. So it takes a long time to develop the manpower of right types of use these man resources. So therefore, decisions concerning manpower develop must be taken many years in advance. However, management may stick to short period for rank and file employees, but it will have to concentrate or upon the problems of replacing key professionals and managerial personnel on a long-term basis. So, in as much many big organizations do prepare long-range forecast in production, marketing, and capital investment, it should not be surprisingly if it makes long-term projection in regard to its personnel. However, human resource plan cannot be rigid or static. They can be modified or adjusted according to the change in circumstances in organizations. Now we discuss about purposes of human resource planning. So the primary functions of human HRP, human resource planning, is the analyze and evaluate the available human resources within the organization. So it also determines how to obtain the kinds of needed personnel to staff various organizational positions, starting from assembly line workers to chief executives also. So similar companies have assigned the function of HR planning to the human resource department or personnel department. So larger corporations have separate departments for the functions. So personnel planning aims at minimizing of waste in employing people. So lessen uncertainty of current personnel level and future needs and eliminate mistakes in staffing pattern. So the purpose of human resource planning aim at maintaining the required levels of skills by avoiding workforce skills shortages, stopping the profit process eroding effects of being overstaffed or understaffed. So preparing succession plans and shaping the optimum future workforce composition by hiring the right skill in appropriate number. Now we discuss about the need for human resource planning, need for HRP. An organization must plan out its human resource requirement as well in advance so that it could compete effectively with its competitors in the market. So a well thought out human resource plan provide adequate lead time for requirement, selections and training of personnel. It becomes all the more crucial because the lead time for procuring personnel is a time consuming process, and in certain cases one may not always get the requisite type of personnel needed for the jobs. Non-availability of suitable manpower may result in postponement or delays in executing new projects and expansion programs, which ultimately lead to lower efficiency and productivity further. So to be specific, the following are the needs of human resource planning. Shortage of skills. These days we find shortage of skills in people. So it is necessary to plan for such skilled people much in advance than when we actually need them in our organizations for production or any work. So non-availability of skilled people when and where they are needed in an important factor which prompts sound human resource planning. Frequent labor turnover. So human resource planning is essential because of frequent labor turnover also. So which is unavoidable by all means. So labor turnover arises because of discharges, marriages, promotions, transfer, etc., which cause a constant ebb and flow in the workforce in the organizations. So changing needs of technology. Due to changes in technology and new techniques of production, existing employees needed to be trained or new blood injected into an organizations. Identify areas of surplus or shortage of personnel. So manpower planning is needed in order to identify areas with a surplus of personnel of areas in which there is a shortage of personnel. So if there is a surplus, it can be redeployed, or there is a shortage of new employees can be procured. So changes in organizational design and structure due to change in organizational structure and design. So we need to plan the required human resources right from the beginning. Now we discuss about objectives of human resource planning. So the objectives of human resource planning is to ensure the best fit between employees and jobs. So while avoiding manpower shortage or surpluses, human resource planning is a subsystem of the total organizational planning. So it continues to an integral part of corporate plan and serves a very purpose of organization in many ways. So the primary purpose of the human resource planning is to prepare for a future by reducing organizational uncertainty in retention of the acquisition, placement and development of employees also. So human resources planning is done to achieve the optimum use of human resource and to have the right types of correct number of employees to meet organizational goals. So number one, the main objectives of the human resource planning are achieve goals. Human resources planning helps in achieving individual, so organizational and national goals. Since human resource planning is linked with career planning, it can be able to achieve individual goals while achieving organizational and national goals also. Estimates future organizational structure and manpower requirement. Resources planning is related with number of personal requirement for the future job, family, age distributions of employees, qualifications and desired experience, also salary, range, etc., and thereby determines future organizational structure also. So, human resources audit. Human resources planning process is compared to estimating of future needs and determining the present supply of manpower resources. So, manpower supply analysis is done through skills inventory. This helps in preventing overstaffing as well as understaffing in organizations. Now, job analysis. So, the process of studying and collecting information related to operations and responsibilities of a specific job is called job analysis. So, job analysis is comprised of job description and job specifications also. Job description describes the duties and responsibilities of a particular job in an organized factor way. And job specification specifies minimum acceptable human resource qualities necessary to perform a particular job properly. Now we discuss about the problems with human resource planning, the problems with HRP in organization. So resistance by employers. Many employers resist human resource planning as they think that it increase the cost of manpower for the management. So further, employees feel that human resource planning is not necessary as a candidate will be available as and when required in the country due to the growing unemployment situation. So resistance by employees resist human resource planning as it increases the workload on the employees and prepares program for securing human resources mostly from outside. Inadequacies in quality of information, so reliable information about the economy, other industries, labor market, trends in human resource, etc., are not easily available. This leads to problems while planning for human resources in the organizations. So uncertainties are quite common in human resource practices in India due to absenteeism, seasonal unemployment, labor turnover, etc. So further, the uncertainties in the industrial scenario like technological change and marketing condition also cause imperfection in human resource planning. So it is the uncertainties that make human resource planning less reliable in organizations. Time and expense. Human resource planning is a time consuming and expensive exercise. A good deal of time and cost are involved in the data collection and forecasting. So guidelines for making human resource planning and effective. So adequate information system. The main problem faced in human resource planning is the lack of information, so an adequate human resource database should be maintained, developed for better coordinated and more adequate human resource planning. Participation. To be successful, human resource planning requires active participation and coordination efforts on the part of the operation executives also. So such participation will help to improve understanding of the process and thereby reduce resistance from the top management. Adequate organizations. So human resource planning should be properly organized. A separate selection or section or committee may be constituted within the human resource department to provide adequate focus to coordinate the planning efforts at various levels. Human resource planning should be balanced with corporate planning. Human resource plans should be balanced with the corporate plans of the enterprise. The methods and techniques used should fit the objectives also and strategies and environment of the particular organizations. So appropriate time horizon. The period of manpower plans should be appropriate according to the needs and circumstances of the specific enterprise. The size and structure of the enterprise as well as the changing aspirations of the people should be taken into consideration. So now we discuss about the factors affecting human resource plan. External factors. They are the factors which affect the human resource planning externally. They include number one, government policies. So policies of the government like labor policy, industrial policy, policy towards reserving certain jobs for different communities and sons of the soils, etc. affect human resource planning. Level of economic department, level of economic deployment determines the level of human resource development in the country and thereby the supply of human resource in the future of the country. Information technology brought amazing shifts in the way business operates, and these shifts includes business processes re-engineering, that is BPR, business process engineering, re-engineering, enterprise resource planning ERP, supply chain management is SCM. The change brought unprecedented reduction in human resource and increase in software specialist. So examples, computer aid designs CAD and computer aid technology CAT also reduce the existing requirement of human resources. So level of technology. Technology is the applications of knowledge to practical tasks which lead to new invention and discoveries. So the new invention of latest technology determines the kind of the human resource planning also. Now business environment means the internal and external factors influencing the business environmental forces influence the volume of mix of production and thereby the supply of human resources in the future in the economy of country. So international factors like the demand and supply of human resource in various countries also affect human resource planning. Now company strategy, the organizational policies and strategies are the main factors in business resource planning. The organizational policies and strategies retaining an expansion of diversification, etc. determines the human resource demand also in terms of quality and quality. Human resource policies of the company regarding quality of human resources, expansion level, quality of working conditions, etc. influence human resource planning in organizations. Job analysis means detailed study of the job, including the skills need for the particular job. Human resources planning is based on the job analysis, which determines the kind of employees to be procured. Time horizon, as I earlier mentioned about this, companies planning differed according to the competitive environment. That is, companies with stable competitive environment can plan for the long run, whereas for firms without a stable environment can only plan for short terms. So therefore, when there are many operators entering business, when there is a rapid change in social and economic conditions of business, if there is a constant change in demand patterns, when there exist poor management practices, then short-term planning is adopted, or vice versa for long-term planning. So type of quality of informations, any planning process needs quantitative and accurate information about the organizational structure, capital budget, functional and objectives, level of technology being used, job analysis, requirement, resources, retired plans, compensation levels of employment, etc. So therefore, human resource planning is determined on the basis of the type of quality of information. So companies' production and operational policies, companies' policies regarding how much to produce and how much to purchase from outside in order to manufacture the final product influences the number of kind of the people required. So trade unions, if the unions declared that they will not work for more than 8 hours a day, it affects the human resource planning also. So therefore influence of trade unions regarding number of working hours per week, recruitment sources, etc. affect human resource planning. So organizational growth cycle. At starting stage, the organizational is small and the need of employees is usually smaller. But when the organization enters the growth phase, more young people need to be hired. Similarly, in the declining recessions, downturn phase, human resource planning is done to retrain the employees. So that's for the video, my friends. If you like my this channel, educational challenge, please subscribe, like, comments.